Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to be before you this morning. And I hope I will contribute a little to the knowledge that we are trying to gather here this morning. I'll be taking you on basic analysis for quantitative techniques. And the most important activity in this program is all about investment. And it's good to have the proper definition of that word, investment, because it's not easy to source for funds, hard earned income of people, plow it into an activity, and the whole thing will go down the drain. So I will define investment as the commitment of either personal or borrowed or equity, the commitment of either personal or borrowed fund or equity into a legal, profitable and safe economic activity with a view to earn return and at a minimal risk. It is the commitment of either personal fund, it could be at the level of an entrepreneur, a sole proprietor, or a partnership. The commitment of that fund, if it comes to the level of borrowed, it could still be at that private level, and it now comes to a bigger organization. They can source for fund, short-term, medium, or long-term fund, or equity, co-owner, risk taker, risk bearer, into a profitable, legal, and why am I saying it should be legal? Many of us we are aware of various networking investment programs. Bring one person, you two bring two. I pay $10 into your account, to somebody's account, and then when you pay to somebody's account, go and look for two people that will also pay another $10. Are we aware of such programs? I don't refer to that as an investment. That is more or less like undefined gambling, so to say. So, as you want to be a fund manager, just like in the last seminar, that go and source for fund here and there, and then you take people's money to go and do such wonder bands, you are at a greater risk. Yes, even I'm aware that every investment has a risk, but when we are taking a risk, we take a calculated what? Risk. Am I talking? So, taking personal fund, borrowed fund, or equity, okay, into a legal, must not be Yahoo, must not be any 4-1 kind of business, into something that it is backed up by law. And not only things backed up by law, you yourself that want to go into an investment on behalf of other people, you must have either a license or a certificate backing you up to carry out such investment activities. Am I right? You want to be a stockbroker? You have to go and write professional exams. And if you don't want to operate at that level, okay, there's different programs now with CIS, Data and Stockbrokers, okay, they call it diploma. They have the stock market agent certificate, and then we have various programs that at whatever level you want to operate, you must get that certificate to back up so that your activities will not be considered as what? Illegal. And that will also give you credibility. So that's why I said that investment, it is the commitment of personal, borrowed, or equity into a legal and of course profitable. It is not a non-profit business venture. The essence of investment is to make what? Return. Okay? And therefore, a safe economic activity. People's money must be saved. With the risk, yes, there should be an element of safety when you get people's fund. Okay? With a view to earn return at a minimal risk. Therefore, investment has two hands. It's an human being, but it has two hands. Return, and then what? Risk. Since risk and return are inherent in all investments, there is no investment without risk. Hence, the need for thorough analysis before committing the available fund, which of course has opportunity cost. That fund you want to take to the money market can as well be taken to somewhere else. Am I right? So because of that opportunity cost, if you are given the opportunity to manage a fund, then there must be a return. Okay? So, before committing such available fund into any investment, and therefore you must maximize the return and then minimize the risk. The risk return analysis cannot be done with just the rule of the thumb. Hence, there is need for a quantitative or statistical analysis. If I put $10,000 or 10,000 naira or 1 million naira to buy a particular stock on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, take for example First Bank at 16 naira 50 kobo. Now, I hope to gain, the price will get to 20 naira by December. What are the fundamentals? What are the parameters? What are the indicators? Do you have time to look at the records of that bank? To what direction are they moving? Or do you know whether something will happen between now and December? So for you to get the best in terms of return from investment, there is the need for a quantitative analysis. And not only for the return sake, but also to minimize your risk. So that is the essence of this very course. The quantitative analysis in order to maximize return and to minimize risk. However, some people, they want to invest and they don't want to take a risk. And of course, that is where we have some investment that we call them, they have free, risk, they are free risk rate. Take for example, you walk into any bank to buy TB. Okay, when you buy your treasury bill, you get your return instantly. Am I right? If it's at 10%, you give them 1 million naira. They will just debit your account with less than 10%. And you take home the balance, but on maturity, you will be paid the 1 million naira. So you can go to bed and sleep. Fixed deposit. You can have your return immediately or on maturity. No problem. But for over the years, what will determine what to go into, it is your risk tolerance. We have risk averser and we have what? Risk taker. And we know that the higher the risk, there is tendency that return will also be what? So, but however, those who can take the risk at a higher level, you don't just take that risk without proper quantitative analysis. If you go to 25-story building and strike a deal, I can jump from a 25-story building down and say, I give you 1 million naira. Then I said, fine. Just to jump, I can go and get a parachute. And if I fly from 25-story building with my parachute, the probability that I will land safely is high. Am I right? But even if the parachute develop fault in the middle of the air, I'm on my own. Am I right? But another person that want to do that say, yes, I can jump. I've been jumping over the year during my time in the village. And the person decided to just jump from 25-story building without parachute, without anything. I don't think he will live to spend that 1 million naira bet. He has taken an open risk. Why I have taken a what? A calculated risk. At what point are you to take your quantitative analysis or statistical analysis? It is better at the beginning, before you even plunge or plow the money into investment. And that is why you find out that most organizations, no matter how big they are, small ones, you find out that they will surface only for a period of time, and after some time, what happened? They are nowhere to be found. Why? Because they did not do their diligent analysis. And remember, the economy is very dynamic. The competition is very high. And so the more you subject your investment decision or option to a serious analysis, the better it is for you. And so we'll be looking at that in the course of this program. Then, having said that, and having given a proper definition of investment, we have two methods. We have the quantitative and we have the statistical methods. There is a line of difference between the quantitative method and the statistical method. Quantitative tools helps to identify and understand basic information contained in the data with a purpose of giving empirical content to economic theories. Quantitative tools helps to identify and understand information contained in data with a purpose of giving empirical content to economic theory. It is about developing quantitative estimates of financial relations or models. Quantitatives are not mathematics, but rather they use mathematical concepts. Quantitatives, they are not mathematics, but quantitative makes use of mathematical concept. When in quantitative, maybe you are on to you want to take on something like Markov processes in quantitative. Markov processes will make use basically of matrices and determinants. Am I right? Good. And matrices and determinants is a topic or a concept in mathematics. Taking another aspect, another dimension. You need the knowledge. You want to know the total cost, the marginal cost, and all that. You will borrow from differential calculus. Am I right? Differential calculus is not a concept in quantitative. It is borrowed from where? From applied mathematics. Am I right? So therefore, quantitative itself is not mathematics, but it derives its origin from where? From mathematics. Statistics, on the other hand, is a body of methods dealing with collection, description, analysis, and interpretation of information. Statistics or statistical methods deals basically with collection, description, analysis, and interpretation of information. And that gives birth to the two types of statistical method. We have descriptive and we have inferential. Okay? And with that, why again do we need quantitative analysis? Of what use? Especially in investment. We've said it that because of the opportunity cost of the fund. Another reason is because of the time value of money. A naira, 1 naira of today could worth more tomorrow or less, depending on the rate of inflation. Am I right? And therefore, if you are to hedge against inflation with the money you are holding today, with the hope of investing it is proper for you to invest it in an instrument that will give you a higher rate than the proposed or the present inflation rate. Am I right? Otherwise, that fund will be useless. How? If I have 1 million naira today is 10th, am I right? 10th of September, I have 1 million naira with me now. And I don't need that 1 million naira. I said, okay, possibly I will need it by this time next year. It will be foolishness on my own part as an investment analyst to leave that money in my savings account. Because the highest any bank can give you on your traditional savings account, possibly they give you 1%. What percent? 3% is on the high side. 3%. And if they give you 3%, I pray you don't invest, you don't put that money in one of the banks I know, whereby they will charge you 210 naira every month for maintenance cost or whatever. And when you now translate that 3% to monthly earning, by the time you net off your return monthly from 210, you may be surprised that they will have taken from your 1 million naira at the end of 12 months. Am I right? So, if you are saying that you are doing your quantitative analysis, you need to do it with diligence. And since it's not even only for itself, you want to be a fund manager, you want to be an investment analyst, you want to walk into a microfinance bank and say, look, I have an idea. Many of the microfinance banks, they fund, they don't know how to invest the fund. And so if you have a brilliant idea, which of course you have been getting since yesterday, and more of it will still come, you should be able to say that if you collect people's money, you are giving them value for their money. If you come to somebody who is also knowledgeable and you are giving that person a rate that is lower than, inflation rate, the money may be worthless. If I have my 1 million and I want to use it, if that 1 million can buy a beautiful Toyota Camry car today, am I so sure that that same 1 million naira will buy the same Toyota Camry in 12 months' time? If I don't want to buy the car now. So if I want to buy the car in 12 months' time, but I don't want to buy it today, I should be able to invest it in something today. That if the price of Toyota Camry will jack up by about 5% or 10%, when I get my fund back in 12 months' time, I shouldn't use my personal money again to add to it. That fund that I'm investing should be able to buy that same Toyota Camry. And that is where diligence and good quantitative analysis will help you in the various investment instruments we have. Time preference for money or time value for money is an individual preference for possession of a given amount of money now rather than the same amount at some future or later date. Three basic reasons may be attributed to the individual time preference for money. One, the risk inherent. The reason why people consider time, and of course it is often said that time is what? Is money. So risk has to be in fact a factor. Two, preference for consumption. And of course the third one will be investment opportunity. So for these three basic reasons, the risk inherent, preference for consumption. You cannot eat your cake and at the same time what? Have it. And if you borrow from microeconomics perspective, that's why they always say that there are also three motives for holding what? Money. And that is what we call in economics the demand for money. Are we together? Good. So, but we will look at this outline, because we are looking at just the fundamental mathematics of finance. That's the aspect that within our time frame of 120 minutes, we will look at the basic fundamentals of finance. Under this, I have the following outline. One, first of all, we have looked at an overview of investment. We have looked at the quantitative analysis versus statistical method, and then the relevance of time value of money. But we are going to look at this mathematics of finance under the following subheadings. One, future or compound value of money. Future or compound value of money. 2, the present value, PV. 3, we look at annuity. Next, we look at perpetuity. Loan amortization. Loan amortization. Sinking fund. All these are just under what we call basic mathematics of finance, which I believe many of us we are familiar with. Okay? Fine. Then, that is just under the mathematics of finance. Then, the B part of it, we look at statistical methods. Statistical methods or statistical ways of analyzing. Then under that, we look at the expected value, variance, regression analysis, correlation, and covariance. And if time permits us, within the framework of time, we look at cost of capital. Cost of capital. Under that cost of capital, we look at cost of equity, cost of long-term debt, cost of preference shares, and when you bundle all these together, you have what is called weighted average cost of what? Capital. WACC. Weighted average cost of capital. If you want to go big, and you want to sort, like I said, investment is the commitment of personal, borrowed, and equity. You can see it from the cost of capital here. Okay, even retained earnings, okay, of an organization should not be just treated as free of charge. Am I right? Even though it is part of the earnings of that organization that they are still flying back into the organization, there should still be a way of monetizing it in a way. Am I talking? Yeah. Even when you get something free, let's take for example, you want to start a small business, and then you approach somebody and say, okay, no problem, you can just use that other 3-bedroom flat, use it for whatever you want to do. You'll be wise enough to see monetize that gift given to you as if it is what? A rented what? Apartment. Because if you say zero value, the day that person will pursue you from that place, it will be difficult for you to adjust. Am I communicating? So whatever you are doing, you should be able to know the cost of that capital, whether it is personal, whether it is borrowed, even if it is an equity, there is need for that. So let's look at the first one. Under the mathematics of finance, we look at the future value or the compound value. So fortunately, I don't have a big board. This is quantitative, and we cannot just be doing it without writing. But no problem. We'll see what we can do, and I'm sure you are all familiar with this. Now, the basic thing about future value or compound value, as against the simple interest which you are aware of, which you all know right from your nursery class, is that the future value is trying to tell you, if I place an instrument, okay, I have a sum of money, and I put into a particular fund or an investment plan, and that payment possibly is paid once. how much will I expect after a given period of time? That is the major difference between future value and annuity. Future value, you will make the deposit once. You walk in to a finance house, you pay in 10 million naira. Once you pay that 10 million naira, how much do you expect after 15 years? Then you will use the concept of future value or compound value to know the total sum that will be accrued to you at the end or on maturity of that fund. Is that clear? Is that clear? Now, if it were to be an annuity, and that is what if you go for maybe a professional exam or a master's program, and that's why you see like Unilag entrance exams. Those of you that I have some finance students here. You know that when you are writing your qualifying exam for finance, and then you give you a lot of that question, calculate the present, the future value, and you see some other question, and you will mix it up, future value and annuity. If this fund is paid once, how much is accrued to you at the end of a given period? You will use the concept of the analysis of future value. But if the money is paid at the beginning or at the end, at the beginning or at the end of a particular year, consistently for a given period of time, then it becomes what? An annuity. And that's why we say an annuity is a stream, it's a series of what? Equal payment or receipt over a given period of time. Do you understand what I'm saying now? So when you are going into an investment, you can sit down and do your calculation. If you work with an insurance company, they use annuity a lot. And that is why when you walk into an insurance company and tell them, I want to take a life assurance policy, how much? They said, okay, I want to take an insurance policy for myself. When I plus 60, I want to attract 10 million naira. The insurance guy will go to the table and check for you what your premium will be. And that's your premium. Remember, that premium will be paid either at the beginning or at the end of the given period of time. Am I right? And that money will be what? Regular. Are you following me now? Because it is regular, it is what? It is an annuity. And that person can now come up with the claim, what you will get at the end of that program, at the end of that investment. But if on the other way around, it is just you want to wed in 3 years' time, and you have 1 million naira, and you find out that 1 million naira is not sufficient for you to do the wedding program. And just okay, if I give it to ARM or AIM or Kakawa discount or consolidated discount or any of these finance houses, you give them 1 million naira. I leave it with you for 1 year, for 2 years. How much do I get at the end? You are making that payment just once. So they will use the concept of future value to calculate how much you will get upon the maturity of that investment. And you use a very simple formula in that analysis. Okay? We'll look at small one and then we'll see what we can do with that. This is the basic formula for calculating your future value. While the P is the amount, R is the rate of return, and N is the duration for the number of years. If somebody is to make a deposit of million naira, okay, at the rate of 5%, which is 0.05, for 10 years, you put your 10 years, then you press your calculator, then you get your value direct. But if the interest is to be compounded, not annually, but now quarterly, semi-annually, or at a period less than annual, okay, then you will change this formula by dividing the rate by the compounding time and multiply n by the compounding time. Are you there? Are you there? That means if it were to be what is called multiple compounding, okay, the only difference is you divide this by the number of time, you multiply this one by the by the number of times. So it will automatically become so if the interest is to be compounded quarterly, what number will you use to divide that? 4. That means that thing will be, compounded, at that given period 4 times in a year. Okay? And that is what you have as your future value. And of course, you can make, if you now have a sum of money now, you can tell me what that money will be. And how do we do it? You can do it yourself. Okay? If I have an amount of money now, what will be its value in 10 years' time? All things being equal. And that is the concept we just use. The future value. If I have it, 10 million now, what will be its future in next time? And at the same time, if somebody is giving you a promise, take 1 million naira now. 1 million naira now. Or I give you 1.2 million in 2 years. Which one will you go for? You are having the options of a present value and you are having another one of what? Of future value. All you need to do is to bring the two to the same platform. Are you there? So you can discount the future value to the present value and weigh the two. And then from there you take one. Of course you take the one of a higher what? Higher value. So from here you can make your P the summary of formula. Okay, and from there you can get what the present value will be if you are given the what? The future value. These are just basic investment analysis. Okay. The difference is just this hard. You have 1 million naira and you want to take it to an investment plan. And they are giving you 6% per annum. 6% compounding. Are you following me? Which is just 0.06 if it is 6%. But if the question says that it will be compounded quarterly or semi-annually, are you getting what I'm saying? Now, because of that quarterly, semi-annually, biannual, whichever way, we call it multiple compounding. So in that case, your R will still be your 6%, but because it is a multiple compounding, so whatever is going together with it, if it is quarterly, then you divide by what? By 4. And then you multiply the N also by what? By 4. So we call this one single compounding. And this one is called multiple compounding. Okay? Now, so we have that. Then if you want to calculate the present value, you can make the P summary of formula and then you get your value. And you want to calculate your rate, the same thing. You can make R, the summary of formula, you can calculate your R, and then you can do all that. Okay? That's about the future value and present value. Then when we come to annuity, see, now, see, you can use, even for this R, somebody else can use K. Somebody can use I. Am I communicating? They are all alphabets. So, but here I'm just using C, which means compounding. The number of times you are compounding. Now, let's quickly go to annuity. Now, for annuity, we have 2 types of annuity. We have ordinary annuity and what? Annuity deal. Now, like I said, annuity is basically a series or a stream of, it could not only be income, it could as well be payment. Am I right? Your house rent is an annuity. Am I right? Because you are paying now. Now, it could be a form of income. If it is, of course, because your rent is a constant amount of money, vis-a-vis that the landlord is not increasing the rent. Now, if you are a pensioner, okay, and then you receive your pension over a period of time, okay, that is also an annuity, as long as it is constant over a period of time. Not only that, if you go take some insurance policy, okay, and you are being paid certain amount of money regularly to a particular duration depending on the agreement between you and the insurance company, that one is also an example of what? Annuity. So annuity can be made at the beginning, it can be at what? At the end. And that is under that classification, we have what is called what? Annuity due and what? An ordinary annuity. And what are we looking at here now? If you are to take an annuity, whether an ordinary annuity or annuity due, you are paying into that investment plan. And you have to make that payment for 5 years. After the payment, you'll be entitled to, to get, your claims back. You want to know what will be the future value of that annuity. Let me give you a practical example. Walk into a mutual benefit insurance to take a life policy for 20 years. If you are taking that a life insurance policy for 20 years, they will tell you that, okay, from this year, year 1, for that 20 years you'll be making the payment. You are paying every year 1 million naira. For that 20 years, you have paid how much? 20 million. On maturity, they can now tell you that on maturity, you'll be receiving an annuity for the next 30 years. While you are making the payment, you are not receiving any claim. Upon the full payment, now, if you are now receiving 1 million naira for the next 30 years, the difference between your own contribution and how much you will receive for the next 30 years will be 10 million. Am I right? Am I right? Now, that 30 million, that 1 million you are collecting thereafter is your own annuity. Now, how do you now calculate how much you are entitled to? They will use what is called annuity formula to know how much they will pay you on maturity. And what they will do, it's not that the insurance company are doing abracadabra. Of course, as you pay in the money today, at the beginning of, let's say, year 1, maybe you have agreed that you want to be paying the money in full, just you want to pay for the whole 12 months once. When you pay to that insurance company will not take that money to their vault in their office and lock it there and leave it there. On maturity, they will not be paying. They won't be able to do that. Am I right? What will they do? They too will invest that money either in money market, capital market, real estate, or any other form of investment outlet. Am I right? It is whatever revenue they are getting from there that they will use in order to pay you on maturity, and it will also leave them with something. Of course, they will pay the staff and for other administrative expenses. Are you with me now? So it is the formula for annuity, whether due or annuity due or ordinary annuity. It is that formula they will use to tell you how much. And the longer the years, the smaller will be your own premium, and the better it is for them. Otherwise, if you are doing it at a shorter period, when you use that formula, if you are using it for a shorter period, your premium will be so high. If you have to do it for your baby, a child, 1 year old, to do an investment for that child that by the time the child is 50 years, the child wants to take 10 million naira. They can tell you for 50 years the premium can be 5,000 naira every month. But you, the father, if you are 45 years of age and you are looking at your retirement at 50, the premium they will give you will be almost times 20 of what your child will pay. Is that true? Because of the number of years. So basically what you are using is the formula for annuity, in order for you to know what your maturity amount will be and how much you'll be getting thereafter. And we have a formula for that, which is a very long one. I was thinking I would get a white board here, but I will do it. We have ordinary annuity formula. The future value for ordinary annuity So this is the future value for ordinary. This will represent the ordinary annuity. And of course, it is for single compounding. It's for single compounding. That means it can just tell you 6% at the compounding interest per annum. That's just the single compounding. But if it's to become a multiple compounding, what will be affected there is what? R and what? And N. And therefore, this one will be divided by C, multiplied by what? By C. And then you now have it. If you want to do it, if you want to compound it annual, quarterly, semi-annually, and whichever way you want to do, then you go by that. Okay? And you get the value. But if you want to go by its present value, sometimes they give you have the future value, then you want to work backward for present value, you can also do that. But if it's to be future value of annuity due, yes please. That's what I said. It's a matter of when you are starting. Annuity due. One is when you start at the beginning. Let me give you an example. Your salary. When do you collect your salary? At the end of the month. Am I right? Good. When do you pay your house rent? At the beginning of the month. Am I right? Am I right? So that is the major difference between ordinary annuity and what? Annuity due. It is paid, one is paid at the beginning, one is paid at the end. And there are some investment. Now, ordinary annuity is paid at the end. While ordinary annuity is paid, annuity is paid at what? At the beginning. And there are many investments like that. Take for example, just like when you are having the first lecture, there are some investment opportunities which we don't have access to practically in Nigeria, but we only do them in theory. Am I communicating? Now, we only do them in theory. How? If you look at perpetuity, perpetuity is an investment, is a form of an investment whereby you are entitled to the returns for life. Even somebody will say, okay, what about at the demise of the owner? But he has an estate. Am I right? They can take over from such an investment. But something that is similar to that, in such a case, it is an equal amount of money that is being paid to the owner of that. Something similar to that will have been equity. But you cannot say an equity is an annuity. Why? Because the dividend you get from a company, is it fixed? It's not fixed. A company can declare ₦1 dividend today, this year. Tomorrow, they can declare nothing. And they can even declare above or less than that. Okay? So it is not basically an annuity when it comes to shares. But there are some investment that what you get in return is better. Another one that is good is bond. That you can use an example. If you take a government bond for, let's say, 30 years, what you will get from year 1 to year 29, you'll be getting the interest rate. Am I right? If it is a bond of 10%, you get 10% in year 1, 10% of that fund in year 2. Maturity, which is the 30th year, you still get 10% plus the face value. Am I right? That is it. So for that 10% that is being paid every year for year 1 to year 29, are you following me now? It could be likened to what? An annuity. Do you understand what I'm saying? Then, let's look at that of annuity due, the future value of an annuity due. It's just the reverse. Now, this is the formula for calculating the future value of annuity due. Okay, of course, for a single period. For a single period. If you want to turn it into a multiple period, you still do the same adjustment to R and to what? To C. Okay? And we have a couple, about 3 or 4 different formula if you want to go by annuity deal in particular. It's a matter of playing with a small concept in mathematics called indices. Okay? With indices, you can adjust this, because if you look at it, you find out that you have 1 plus R here, you have 1 plus R here. So I can change it. This one that is raised to power n plus 1, I can introduce indices here and simplify this very concept here and make it to be more wider. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's a matter, for what I'm trying to say, if you have a raised to power n plus 1, a raised to power n plus 1, it could be the same thing as a raised to power n multiplied by a. Is that correct? Is that correct? A raised to power, if you are mathematically inclined. So, are you there? Yes. So, it's a matter of splitting it and make it bigger. So that's why I said, when you look at some finance literatures, you see that they will expand the formula, it will still give you the same thing. So from here to, you can get your present value. You can play with it and get your present value and work back. And of course, of what importance are all these calculations? Like I said, if you are to do any investment for yourself, for anybody, it's something that you can first of all do your analysis before you take your hard-earned money into it. And that will now give you an idea, does it worth taking into it? If I'm to do annuity for maybe 5 years, and I'm to just do something on just ordinary future value, does it worth it? When you do the two together, I can as well have 1 million naira and keep it and say, okay, if I give it once as a lump sum to this organization, what do I get in 5 years? If I decided to say, okay, my 1 million naira, let me be giving it to them, maybe, 200,000 over a given period of time, what will be my future value? Because if I'm paying it regularly for a period of 5 years or a period of 5 months over a period of time, what will be my future value if I do it with annuity style? If I do it by just doing an ordinary compounding, what will be my value? Then when you use the formula to get the two, compare your future value, then from there you can choose the best. Am I right? Good. So with that, we can look at another concept, which is a perpetuity. We look at perpetuity formula. It's a very simple thing, and just like the name indicates, it's an investment option that does not terminate, no maturity. Okay? You are entitled to it if you enter into that kind of instrument. At the demise of the initial holder of such is transferred to the estate of such an holder. The same thing with, is similar to shares. That's what is called share transmission. If somebody is a shareholder, upon the death of the shareholder, they will do what is called share transmission, which is the transfer of the shareholding of a dead person to a living person. Am I right? Now, and the estate will now benefit from such holding for as long as they live, except if such company folds up. And that is why when the benefit from such company will terminate. But when we talk about perpetuity is much more than that. This is R. YA is the amount, and R is the rate of interest to be paid there. That's just a simple formula for perpetuity compounding. Okay? And whatever you come up with is what that person will earn for that period of time.